those. What's up? Wanted to give a quick little argument for why Hillary Clinton should be the next president pretty quick. One, as we're seeing now with a couple other scandals and some other things, there's a level of scrutiny that comes with running for president and being at this level that's just really unheard of. The microscope will reveal it all. For someone who's been under it for 20 years and the worst they got is not much, that's actually a really good thing, because you're going to be able to start getting to work without having to worry about this whole massive attention thing, which crushes people. But Hillary's got no problem with it, and has had no problem with it for a while. So being able to do that and continue to move along now, the whole continuing Obama's thing is really important, because my whole life we haven't actually had a continuous run of two of the same party, right, running for two consecutive 8-year terms. The closest we got was George Bush, the elder, after Reagan, and that didn't work so much because the supply side thing again crashed. But we have that opportunity now. The reason why this is so important, as we see with the Supreme Court and other judges, is a lot of the federal institutions and whatnot, when you're shifting back and forth, this destroys careers, especially in the science and the whatnot. If you read about some of the purges that happened during the Bush administration, of climate scientists and people who, think for a living, it was unfortunate and a lot, and that moves careers. Then you go someplace else and you change what you do entirely. So having that kind of consistent, that's across like the entire bureaucracy, that kind of stuff happens, and we need to, or it behooves us to have a consistency across that. Because so much now of what happens with our country, because of the size of it, depends on having that functioning bureaucracy to keep things moving forward and keep things going. The size of it makes wholesale hard changes difficult and somewhat counterproductive, because there's a cost of change, right? Whenever you're going a certain direction, and if you try to change abruptly, this is what causes crashes and smashes. Which this is part of why I have an issue with Sanders' platform, is that the U.S. system of government is actually built to resist radical change with the separation of powers, right? And there's just no way to ram through something and make it stick. You usually have to try it, then it gets kicked back, then you try it again another way, and then you do it again, and then meanwhile you've appointed some judges and doing that, and so you have to do consistency over a period. That's why we have a stable country and have one of the more stable countries in the history of the current world, which is true and odd. So the other thing I wanted to talk about too, and this is part of the appeal of the Trump and also the Sanders thing, and it has to do with the U.S. position in the world changing, and the position of people like myself, right, the white male demographic. So the U.S. is, as the U.S., this flat globalization happens and continues to, and you're able to leverage the information age in other countries to a much greater degree with greater populations. So like India and China are seeing such massive GDP growth because the products, right, of the information age are information and smarts and doing work, programming things and building stuff and designing. So the information age allows you to kind of skip over that whole industrial having to build all this huge infrastructure. Instead, you have these digital products that can be infinitely recopied and shared immediately. One copy of Windows can go to every single guy in China, right? So that's $100, then you're good to go for a whole. So you're seeing a massive growth in those GDPs and general influence in the world, which means a leveling off of the U.S. influence, right? Which, when you're above everyone and everybody else catches up, that feels like you're going down. Now, while that's happening with the U.S. globally, that's also happening demographically for my group, right? When everybody else comes up, it just naturally feels like you yourself are going down. It's just, there's only so much, right? There's 100% of all possible power, and if other groups are gaining it, one group is losing it. Now, I myself am particularly fine with this. This is why I'm comfortable being a Clinton supporter, because it is a beautiful world, and running it is, I will let somebody else do this for a little bit and take some of the burden. I have no problem with that. But others do. And so that resistance to that change, both globally and locally, both affects these people. So Personally, I'm for just turning up the heat on the Trump people and just making their heads explode. So I don't, I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to help understand the whole phenomenon, and also why the radical change of Bernie I don't think is going to work. But I do think everybody who supports him should keep working and join and become a part of that bureaucracy and do that and solve the problem yourself, that one little bit you can get your hands on. Because one person can't do a revolution in the U.S. Our system doesn't work like that. And that's why it works, is because it doesn't allow for that. So anyway, looks like I am almost here, but that's 5 minutes, plenty of rain. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna have a good day. Take care.